Now let's go to the UN's climate chief, Simon Steele. He's in Australia and he has a message for us all. We are letting the world overheat. And we better watch out because fruit will become a once-a-year treat if Chris Bowen and Labor don't further escalate their net zero ambitions. He also said Australia has a strong economy and among the highest living standards in the world. If you want to keep them, doubling down on clean energy is an economic no-brainer. Caroline, economic no-brainer, is that how you see it?
Well, I think whatever we have to do in this country to keep our economy and living standards, that there is the no-brainer. I think we should always be agnostic when it comes to energy source. And frankly, yes, I think we should do whatever we need to do to reduce pollution and look after the environment. I think those things are universal, but we shouldn't be tanking our economy and living standards to do it. I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago about hydrogen and all the government subsidies that are being dumped into hydrogen, only for there to be this massive walkback of a number of projects because the numbers just don't stack up. I mean, ultimately, it's for the government in this country to look after Australians and what's best for Australians. And if people internationally want to chime in with their view, they're welcome to have an opinion. But I mean, ultimately, we're only responsible for a tiny amount of emissions. And this idea that somehow, unless Australia turns the lights off or has solar panels anywhere, no one's going to get to eat a banana is just ludicrous. And I think the electorate knows enough about these things to not be scared by it.
Well, let me give you the direct quote from this character, this UN climate chief. He said, mega droughts will make fresh fruit and veg a once-a-year treat if we are not careful. And he also said, in total, the country could face a 6.8 trillion GDP loss by 2050. Gab, this sort of doomsday prediction, these sort of catastrophist climate scaremongering, does it still have an impact? I'm sure young Australians would be terrified, but I wonder if the rest of the country is a little bit sick of these predictions that are just wild.
Yeah, I think if you pay attention for long enough, you see that these predictions often don't quite work out the way we were told. You know, we've heard so much climate alarmism over the years, and now this is the new one, that we're only going to be able to eat fruit once a year as a special treat. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And then also an economic no-brainer. I mean, look at the situation at the moment. Why is it, or how is it, that we have higher energy bills at the moment when the Labor government promised that energy would be $275 cheaper, you know? But, you know, of course, it's Australia's fault. Australia that is responsible for a whopping 1% of global emissions. It's on us to do the heavy lifting, and not China, not India. And it's, of course, it's on us if we want to be eating fruit whenever we want in the future.
Now, let's move along to Donald Trump revealing details of his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein, explaining at a press conference that unlike others, he turned down offers to travel to Epstein's private island.
I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. President,
and by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them.
Gab, it should be noted Donald Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago before the disgraced financier was charged with any sexual offences. What do you make of this latest commentary from the president on Epstein?
I was glad to hear those comments from President Trump, because just a couple of weeks ago he was saying, why are people interested in this? This is all a hoax, and people are still interested in this. I will say, though, that some of the left-wing media outlets are running these BS stories, just desperately trying so hard to link Donald Trump to Epstein, when we've all seen the images of Epstein and Trump socialising together. But as you say, if you go back in history, Donald Trump kicked out Epstein in Mar-a-Lago. The this is before he was convicted of anything. Trump there said, you know, that Epstein stole people that worked for me. So I think it's good that he is also providing a bit more transparency as he continues to get asked about this issue. And now, while there has been a lot of noise over the past few weeks about the Epstein files, I think Donald Trump is absolutely right to start bringing up the names like Bill Clinton, who did travel to the island, you know, Trump says 28 times, you know, dozens of times. And we know that with Biden in power, he could have released the Epstein files. The Democrats didn't seem to be so concerned about it then. And it's only now that we actually are getting a bit of movement. We know that the DOJ has met with Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think the frustration is that there are potentially still a lot of, you know, rich and powerful people that were connected to Epstein that may potentially belong behind bars. So, look, I think the push for more transparency around this issue is going to continue, and I think it's a good thing that Donald Trump is being more transparent and also making it known about his relationship with Epstein and how they fell out.
Now let's go to the UK, where it's expected that 16,500 millionaires will leave the country this year, the highest exodus of millionaires from any country in the world. And I guess that's what happens when you impose ever-increasing taxes, a lesson perhaps for the Victorian government. Have a look at this discussion.
We might lose a couple of rich people, but in general, actually, people do stick around.
That couple of rich people, the study shows 11,000 people, because of the Labour non-dom budget, 11,000 millionaires have left. That's the equivalent of 500,000 average taxpayers. And you have to remember that the top 1% pay 1/3 of the income tax.
Caroline, that entire discussion was so fascinating, and the left just don't get it. There's got this socialist mindset. Everything is fine until you run out of other people's money.
And they just think that, you know, people aren't going to change their behaviour or change their conditions to self-preserve. I mean, this is ludicrous. They tried super taxes in the 70s and the same thing happened. It's called the Laffer curve, and people will do whatever they need to do to protect themselves. And not dissimilar circumstances in relation to taxing of unrealised capital gains. They tried to bring that in Norway, and instead of raising the 120 million they thought, they went backwards 500 million.
Yep, people who have got money have got options. If they want to leave the country, they will. Caroline Di Russo, Gabriella Power, thank you so much for your time tonight.